Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. So today I'm going to talk about the controversial figure of Paul Sykes, a renowned and feared street fighter, very dangerous Cat A prisoner, regarded as one of the toughest prisoners in the British prison system. Gets out of prison, becomes a professional boxer, gets to fight for the British title. A very, very clever man, very well read. As he spent so much time in prison, he educated himself by a lot of reading. Very charismatic storyteller, but as I found out recently, very controversial. Some allegations about things that he's done whilst in prison. But I've spoke to people with varying opinions on this, which I'll discuss later. And I'm also going to talk about when he was lined up to fight legendary fighters Build a Bomb and Lenny McLean. So Paul was born in Wakefield in 1946. He started boxing at a very young age, and he also started drinking at a very young age, and the alcohol would go on to be one of his big problems, causing a lot of his violence.
No sooner out, he was assaulting the police and was jailed again, this time for 2.5 years. 3.5 years was added after a fight that put 2 prison physical education instructors into hospital.
And he would be doing intimidations and small robberies, but the alcohol was a big part of his life, and it was part of his downfall. Eventually his bad health as well, and prison was a big part of his life. He spent, I think, 26 years eventually in prison. So after he finally got out of prison in 1978, I think at the age of 32, he made his pro debut against Keith Johnson, and as you can see, he looks quite well rounded for pro debut. He's got a wide variety of punches, uppercuts, good hooks, body shots, working behind the jab nicely, and he's very aggressive. Nice little dip in, he dips down well to get out of the way of the punches. So it looks very impressive for a pro debut, very aggressive, and he gets the stoppage. In his second fight, he fights Neil Malpass, gets disqualified. He fought Neil Malpass again in his 6th fight, and he got a draw in that one. Both times it was for the Central Area heavyweight title, which, considering it was only his 2nd and 6th fight, that's quite an achievement as well, to fight for a title fight so early on. Moving on now to Sykes' 9th fight, he fought for the British title against John L. Gardner. John L. Gardner was a very good fighter who fought Michael Dokes. Michael Dokes was world level. John L. Gardner was actually ranked in the world number 10 at one point as well. So Sykes, to get to that level in that short time, had a lot of talent, a very tough man. And he was sparring with Joe Frazier, and he sparred with Leon Spinks as well, but there's footage of him sparring Joe Frazier, and shows the level of boxing skill that he had. Now, quite a lot of people ask me in my comments section, as I was a former professional heavyweight boxer, I do get asked a lot about who I think would win out of those heavyweights that were both criminals, prisoners, and unlicensed fighters or professional boxers. So for many years I used to hear about Build a Bomb, Cliff Fields, Roy Shaw, Lenny obviously, and Paul Sykes. Now, Paul Sykes was actually lined up to fight both Build a Bomb and Lenny McLean. Danny Woolard talks about the Build a Bomb proposed matchup in his book. So apparently Paul Sykes went to London, and the fight with Build a Bomb was meant to happen. Now, I can't say who I think would win out of that one because there's no footage. I've never seen footage of Build a Bomb in a boxing match. There's footage here of Build a Bomb jumping out of the ring at the Lenny McLean fight and taking on a gang of blokes by himself. So Build a Bomb was another handful, a very good pro record. He beat every man he faced. In fact, he lost to Johnny Wall, but beat him in the rematch. So he beat, in theory, every man he faced. So I can't really say about that one, but my opinion, if Paul Sykes would have fought Lenny, is different, because I've seen footage of Lenny fight, and as dangerous as Lenny was on the street, and Lenny preferred street fighting, Lenny himself admits he didn't really like the gloves, and he lost a few of his gloved fights, which is common knowledge. So I think Lenny lost 6 out of his 12 boxing matches. And Paul Sykes, being a top level boxer as he was, I think he would have been too much for Lenny. I think to be honest, Paul Sykes would have been too much for the majority of the fighters around in those days. He was 6'3", about 15 stone, so he wasn't big for nowadays heavyweight terms, but back then that was a big heavyweight, and he was very fast and very strong. I'm always interested to think how we would have got on with Cliff Fields, because Cliff Fields was another very tough man, very strong, and the only footage I've got of Cliff, which I'll show now, Cliff was a sort of go-forward fighter who didn't really worry about getting hit. His defence wasn't the greatest, but he was super tough. He could take a very good punch. He was susceptible to cuts. I mean, skill-wise, I'd say Paul Sykes has got the skill, but Cliff was a very tough man as well. So it's hard to say to call these fights unless they get in the ring. One punch from a heavyweight can decide it. So Roy Shaw, I've got a lot of time for Roy Shaw, and I met Roy on many occasions. There's rumours that Paul Sykes actually got the better of Roy in prison fights. I spoke to Cockerill and some other people, and some people say it happened, some people say it didn't happen. I mean, I don't know, but I've seen Paul Sykes talk highly of Roy Shaw in a video, so who knows? Who knows? I've always had a fascination for the street fighters, the boxers, the criminals of that era, because to me it was a different era. There was a lot of fair fighters. You'd have a fair fist fight, and it wasn't the same as it is nowadays, I don't believe. You know, like, you get a lot of people now in gangs, and it's not really the same. So Paul Sykes, yeah, without a doubt, one of the most dangerous men on the streets in that era, and very feared in the prison system. Regarding Paul Sykes on the streets as well, there's rumours, I mean, rumours he was challenged by Dave Garside and Brian Cockerill, and he didn't accept the challenges to have a street fight. There's also Terry Mitchell, I think, from Leeds, got the better of him in a fight. And I mean, no one's invincible. On any given day, anyone can lose in a street fight, especially when you're drinking in pubs and stuff, which obviously takes away all your reflexes and a lot of your skills. So I have to address the rumours and allegations that I myself have only recently sort of heard about in the last few weeks regarding Paul Sykes assaulting young male prisoners and some terrible things like that. Now, I've done a bit of research into this. I spoke to Peter Fury, I spoke to Brian Cockerill, I spoke to Yami B, I spoke to Chris Lambrianou, and some other people that actually knew Paul Sykes. It seems to be almost a 50-50 split, as to half say they think he could have done it and half say they don't think he did it. So Paul Sykes died in 2006, alcohol related illnesses, I think cirrhosis of the liver, and things like that. He ended up homeless quite a lot of the time on the streets, and yeah, ended up in a very bad way. But without a doubt, he was regarded as one of the toughest boxers, one of the toughest prisoners, street fighters in Britain in that era. So I hope you like the video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch up soon. All the best. Thank you.